Well, if one young woman is in jeopardy, one, that's enough for us to be standing up here. One, no boy will be undressing in a girl's locker room.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about our brand new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, destroying the state of Maine over men and women's sports. And to be more exact, I think the problem is boys and girls sports. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth because the governor of Maine famously disagreed with Trump during the meeting. He checked her right there.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with the state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it.
Now we got Pam Bondi with a civil suit saying, hey, listen, you're doing way too much. You got to stop this. You are endangering young women and girls. Stop. It's time for it to be done. And Pam Bondi said what needed to be said right there at the podium. And, you know, it's so refreshing to get a regular person in there, someone with common sense. It's so refreshing because we had so many years of people saying, oh, you could be a boy and turn into a girl. How can you do that? How is that biologically possible? However you feel about yourself, however you want to identify, that's your business. But scientifically, what they're speaking about is not possible. Now, before I go any further, let's get to the actual clip. I have two clips. First is going to be Pam Bondi destroying Maine. Then we're going to get to the actual news report on it. I'll link to both clips, videos, articles, whatnot in the box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit the link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Beat girls in girls sports. Well, if one young woman is in jeopardy, one, that's enough for us to be standing up here. One, no boy will be undressing in a girl's locker room. No boy will be walking in a woman's restroom. And no boy, when we're finished with this, will be beating young girls in sports. These young women many of them have trained, since you were in elementary school for your sport? Riley, when did you start swimming? 4 years old. They have trained their entire lives. Some of them have lost scholarships. They have lost regionals. They have lost state because of boys. I don't care if it's one. I don't care if it's two. I don't care if it's 100. It's going to stop, and it's going to stop in every single state.
Now, again, this is our great Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Hold on, round of applause. Hey, Pam Bondi, you are fantastic. That was great. And it was very well said because it's got to stop. I mean, this should be common sense. It's crazy that human beings have devolved to the point where we think that it's okay to allow boys and girls locker rooms or men and women's locker rooms, men and women's bathrooms. When was that ever a thing that we said, okay, let's just start doing that as society? You have a men's room and a women's room for a reason. You have a boys' locker room and a girls' locker room for a reason. However somebody feels on the inside does not change reality. It does not change biology. Now, this is going to be CBS News. They're going to kind of opine on this. I want to see if I agree, disagree, or whatever. Check it out.
I want to bring in CBS News Department of Justice correspondent Scott McFarland, who's joining me now from our bureau in D.C. What else did we hear from the Attorney General this morning, Scott?
It was a broader argument she was making beyond just the state of Maine, making the argument that there is too pervasive in America, according to the Attorney General, this issue of transgender athletes, in the Department of Justice's words, putting women at risk of physical injury and women at risk competitively in their sports. There's an appetite here for a broader conversation on the issue of transgender athletes beyond just this singular case. And you know this because this was a nationally televised on cable network news conference in which she not only spoke, but she had athletes speak. She had the U.S. Secretary of Education speak, taking this forum and this platform to have a broader argument. The lawsuit is a civil lawsuit between the Department of Justice against the state of Maine. They're alleging the state of Maine has state laws and state protocols and a state organization inside the government that are permitting transgender athletes to compete at high school levels. But Vlad, this is just a spark, just an initial conversation that the Trump administration is very keen on having as often as possible.
And they need to have it because this is a real issue. And if we just allow it to happen, allow it to continue, it's going to fester and then it's going to become the norm. and then there is no more women's sports. So Title IX, what's the point in having Title IX if we're going to allow men to destroy women's sports? You can't just say, all right, I identify as a woman and then qualify as a woman under this Title IX thing. You can't do that.
So this comes less than a week after a judge issued a temporary restraining order and demanded the federal government unfreeze any education funds that were being withheld. How does that factor in here?
Yeah, there is this possibility, if not the likelihood, that they will try to freeze more money against more state or local governments that they argue are facilitating transgender athletes from competing in high school competitive sports. That's not the things you play informally in the back field of a schoolhouse, but those actual accredited league sports that
And that's very important, because one thing that was mentioned earlier when Pam Bondi was speaking was scholarships. Now we're talking about money. Now we're talking about higher education, being able to further your life, being able to add value to your life as a woman. Those things are being impacted by boys improperly competing against them in their sports, claiming to be women, claiming to be girls.
High schools participate in. You could see this argument getting broader from the administration as well. And we could tell that, Vlad, because during the question and answer session with us, the Attorney General also segued into her criticisms of transgender inmates being housed in facilities that are for one gender or the other at the federal level or the state level. This, again, is a broader conversation the administration wants to have, which was what gave rise to this being a press conference for what is really a boilerplate civil lawsuit, of which there are thousands filed every year.
Don't downplay it, though. I mean, let's not act like this is just a regular old lawsuit. Let's not act like, okay, somebody done stole somebody's cat and they won't give it back, or you want half the Pokemon card collection. Let's not act like that's going on. This is a very serious thing that is involving the safety of American citizens, their safety, their education. All of that is being impacted by this. So it's not just a small issue, a regular, everyday boilerplate type situation.
There is one school board in Maine, Scott, as you know, that has decided to comply with the administration's policy. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, trying to find any division inside a state, inside a community, is important for these lawsuits, important for the argument that the administration's trying to make. But they went straight ahead against Maine state leaders. You'll recall famously a few weeks ago, the governor of Maine counterpunched President Trump's criticism of the state, saying, "We will see you in court, Mr. President, over this issue of transgender athletes." The U.S. Attorney General and her surrogates today responded in kind, saying, yes, you will see us in court. Any divisions they can find, any fissures, could help this legal effort by the Trump administration on a topic they are very interested in having.
All right, so there we go. Again, that is CBS News. So let me come back. As I close, I want to say this. I think most people with a brain, common sense people, understand that you can't have boys and girls sports. I don't care what somebody identify as, man. Hey, you want to identify as a tadpole. You want to identify as a puff of train smoke. You want to identify as a Samsung cell phone with a full keyboard. I don't care what you want to identify as, but at the end of the day, you are what you are. If you're a boy, you're a boy. If you're a man, you're a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman. If you're a girl, you're a girl. That's it. Go to where you're supposed to be biologically. I don't care how you look, how you sound, how you walk, how you talk, how you act as a boy or a man. You're still a boy or a man. Leave the women alone. Why is it even a topic of discussion? It's so weird. It's obvious that these boys are trying to get an advantage over the women for a variety of reasons. First of all, competitive, because they were not good enough to compete against the boys and have any success. So now they want to identify as girls and go compete against them and dominate. Now they want to compete as women, go against them and dominate. Or here's something else. They want to take advantage of women in vulnerable situations. They want to observe them in various states of undress. That is not okay. That is not okay. Leave the women alone. And you know what? I'm going to add just one last piece right here. Just one last piece as I wrap it on up, put the bow on top. You do have a thing called trans men, women, biological women who identify as men. But you never, ever, ever, ever hear about trans men trying to compete against men in men's sports. Why? Ain't no advantage. There's zero advantage. They're not really trying to see the men in states of undress, okay, because that's going to put them in danger. And they are not stronger, faster. They're not going to perform better in sports than men. So it never is the other way around. It's always men and boys going over to the female side, trying to compete against them. It's not right. It's not okay. It needs to be put to an end immediately. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Pam Bondi destroying Maine over the whole issue of boys competing against girls in high school sports? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. How about the CBS News analysis? Was it fair, unfair, somewhere in between? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think that this is a great thing that they're trying to pursue here. Speaking about the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, Trump administration, it's a great thing they're trying to pursue here because it needs to happen. It needs to happen. Leave the women alone, protect them, let them have their spaces. Men, boys should not be over there trying to compete against females. It's not right. It's not okay. Please stop. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.